So decarbonisation is the aim of most major developed countries and some developing countries to achieve net zero carbon emissions. Each country has their own date for that, but the agreement to achieve that on a global basis, most often referred to, is the Paris Agreement. What's become very clear in the last few years is that investing according to environmental, social and governance factors, or ESG, has become a very important portfolio factor for investors. What I mean by that is that the owners of assets, the investors, are factoring in not just financial measures or issues, but non-financial risks into their valuations of portfolio of assets or companies. So what that could mean, an example of that is if you have an oil company who is making no effort to transition to clean energy, perhaps they have an oil province somewhere, it could become a stranded asset, or a thermal coal company, those thermal coal mines could become stranded, that their value becomes less and less as environmental factors become more important to the world. It's not just about environmental, it's about governance as well, it's about how companies are run, it's about social issues, equality, bias, and having a social license to operate. So ESG is the umbrella. It's a structural philosophy to investing that we think is here to stay. That's one of our super trends. So decarbonisation as a theme is a very strong and ongoing one, and already being reflected in markets. So we would use a fund to get exposure to decarbonisation. So one fund that we're using is the Webb Sustainability Fund. The philosophy of that fund is sustainable investment. What's sustainable? Investing in companies that perhaps are best at facilitating the transition. So perhaps providing, a company like Siemens that provides the switches for enabling electrification or efficient use of electrical energy. It could be a wind turbine manufacturer. This is the type of thing. So we think the best way to get access to these themes usually is through an actively managed fund. Large parts of the global economy have to be electrified. So that's in order to be able to use renewable energy. So renewable energy, solar, wind, tide, geothermal, whatever it is, using that to generate electricity, to provide energy for whatever process you need energy for. But what is also clear is that the technology is not there yet for electricity to be the source of energy for everything, particularly high industrial processes that need a high energy input, like steel manufacturing or transport, ships. You can't run ships on electricity. So as a result of that, you don't just need renewable energy, you need some sort of carbon abatement strategies, perhaps bioenergy, and then finally hydrogen. We think hydrogen is one of the most important industries that is going to grow over the next 10 years. And there's a real opportunity for Australia here. So can you imagine the big miners in the Pilbara, Fortescue, Rio, BHP, running their operations off hydrogen? Why has Australia got this opportunity? Because we've got the sun, we've got the solar, the wind to a lesser extent, but we've got the land mass. We've got a lot of empty land, and in order to have solar energy at the scale we need to run the process to generate hydrogen, you need a lot of land space. And we've got that, particularly up in the Pilbara. So the miners could do their bit. We could develop an export industry. We could develop a new type of manufacturing industry. Perhaps with enough hydrogen, we could build a green steel industry. This is something that Fortescue is looking at. and they've created their own separate company within Fortescue called Fortescue Future Industries. And this is something that they're looking at. So we're going to hear more and more about this. And this is a real opportunity for Australia. You know, the final point I would make about this, if it's hydrogen, if it's solar, wind, bioenergy, whatever it is, what's clear now is that focusing on decarbonisation as a super trend or as a theme, it's not, well, this is something we need to do, we'll have to pay extra to do well for the environment. It's not a tax, it makes economic and financial sense.